Second graders, we've been writing our realistic fiction stories. So remember, realistic fiction means that it's a fake story, but it could happen in real life. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to really think about our revising. And remember, revising is when we go back and we make our work better. It might be changing some of the words that we use, or it might be adding some more details or information to help our readers understand what it is you're asking them to picture in their heads. So today what we're going to do is we're going to learn about a new checklist that's going to help us with our craft. So when we think about craft, it's using really strong words that are going to help your reader really picture what's happening in your story in their head. So let's get started. This is our checklist about craft. Notice it's a yellow checklist on my printed checklist, which means that it's talking about the development of our story. So the development of our story is really how good are the words and the details and information in your story so that they can help your reader understand what's happening in your story. For example, in this picture, you can see that instead of went, you could also use the word skipped, ran, raced, or walked. And it kind of depends on what's happening in your story. So as we're looking through these checklists and looking at how I use craft in my story, I want you to think, how can you use this checklist in your writing to help it get better? What it looks like in your writing could be showing, not telling. So instead of saying, I am mad, saying, my fists were clenched is showing, not telling. So you can think about feelings like anger, sadness, or happiness. You could be describing the character's personality traits. What is the character like? How do you know? You could be using different feeling words or making comparisons, like using similes, using the words like or as to compare two unlike things. Then an example of this is, as they drove, they noticed the mountains were as white as cotton with snow. Billy was singing loudly to a song on the radio. Banjo was pacing back and forth in the back seat. They were overjoyed to finally be getting out into nature. You can tell when Banjo's pacing back and forth that he's got a lot of energy and he's really excited. And so that's kind of what showing, not telling looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in my writing about Will and Annie how I can use craft words. So I'm actually going to start on my second page today. Remember, when you start your story and you are picking up your writing for the first time every day, I want you to reread your story. The reason why is so you can kind of get an idea around what you've already written in your story, and then you can think, how can I use my checklists or my resources to help me revise my writing? If you are starting from brand new each day and you can't remember what you wrote, sometimes it can be challenging for you to think what you can make better. So think about how are you using your tools and resources to help you in your writing today. I've been writing about Will and Annie were fighting over a new toy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about my checklist, and I'm going to think, how can I show, not tell, on this specific page? So I really am focusing on this page today, but when you're revising, it's really important that you revise on every single page. Annie reached for the toy in front of Will. Hey, I was playing with that, Will yelled and yanked it out of her hands. Well, it didn't look like you were playing with that, Annie said as she went to grab it out of his hands again. Now notice I've already done some revising on this page with my elaboration checklist. I was really thinking, how can I show that I'm adding some more details? But today I really want to focus on showing, not telling, and thinking about how can I maybe use some different feeling words or show what Annie and Will might be feeling as they're arguing over this toy. So I know that Annie and Will would probably be frustrated or mad. And so I want to think, what are some things that a person might do if they're frustrated or mad? Their face might get red, their hands might be clenched, their body might be really rigid and tight. And so I'm just thinking through, what are some ways that I can add that into my writing? Again, if you want to try it out on a sticky note, you can do that and then change it in your final writing. So let's see. Annie reached for the toy in front of Will. Well, I know that she's going for the toy and Will yells and yanks it out of her hand. So let's see. What could I do? I could show some anger here because she said, well, it didn't look like you were playing with that, Annie said. So I could say, Annie, as she went to go get it out of her hands instead, I could say, Annie reached for the toy in front of Will, but Will yanked it from her before she could get it. Maybe I want to try saying, if Will went to go grab something from her and she was trying to get it, maybe she would hit him. So I could say, Annie slapped his hand away. That's what someone would do maybe if they were frustrated or they didn't know what else to do. I could try it out. So maybe I'm showing, not telling how she's feeling. Maybe for the second sentence where I said, well, it didn't look like you were playing with that, Annie said, I could say, instead of, well, it didn't look like you were playing with that, I could say, I want to play with that, she shouted. And then I could say, as her face started to get as red as a tomato. Because I was trying to think, what's something red that a lot of people would probably understand is red. So as you're thinking, friends, I want you to think, how can you use your craft checklist and show, not tell, but really add in some different ways that your reader can picture what's happening in your story. So if you're successful today, you will add some new details and new information that show how your characters are feeling. That will describe what your characters are feeling and who they are so your reader can picture them in their head. Good luck!